Euromaxx highlights. In today's show, Milan milestone. The Salone del Mobile celebrates its 50th anniversary. Culinary delivery. Help is at hand for hobby chefs in a hurry. Multiple exposures. Unfamiliar views of the world's most photographed landmarks. Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Robin Merrill.
Hello and a very warm welcome to the show. At the age of 73, British artist David Hockney still likes to experiment, and not just with different colours or brushstrokes. Hockney is a pioneer of modern technology in art. In 2008, he began painting on his smartphone. Well, right now there's an exhibition of these interesting new works in a museum in Denmark.
The beauty of an instant, captured in lively, colorful images. David Hockney's smartphone artworks. In the exhibition, they're presented appropriately on the electronic devices involved in their creation. Hockney has now gone beyond iPhone painting. He's using an iPad, which is larger and just as easily available.
The great thing about the iPad is it's always ready for you. All you need is the pad and your finger. Okay, I have this as well, you draw that, but I don't have to. I mean, I could start drawing here, without moving. I've just got it here. I don't have to go get a glass of water. I don't have to get brushes. I don't have to get a pencil sharpener, which means you can draw at the height of your inspiration and just seeing something.
The sculpture outside the window of the Museum Cafe inspired David Hockney on this particular morning, and he immediately immortalized it on his iPad. Hockney discovered the painting application brushes on his iPhone by chance 2 years ago. Since then, he's been using it almost daily and emailing the pictures to his friends.
My friends receiving these on a computer were very thrilled and wrote to me saying, we love getting them because we like getting your emails because you don't have to reply, they're not a demand, they're not a request, it's simply for the pleasure of looking.
To date, David Hockney's iPad art hasn't been put up for sale. He likes the idea of giving his pictures as presents to a few select recipients.
You'd wake up in the morning, generally, because I live in New York, and I'd have this marvelous 1 or 2 drawings of a flower, of a vase, a sunrise over in his window. They were absolutely charming, and I thought, how would you actually present this to a larger body of public?
The Louisiana Museum of Modern Art near Copenhagen, built in the 1950s, is famed for its simple, light-flooded galleries. For months, staff worked on how to display Hockney's pictures with their illuminated backgrounds. In the end, blue walls were built to present the pictures in their best light. David Hockney thinks it's perfectly normal to use the latest technology. But he says it doesn't replace artistic skill.
I'm not a technophobe, but I'm not sure I'm a technophile. But I've always been interested in any technology that was to do with picture making.
David Hockney is considered one of the world's leading contemporary artists. His works can fetch millions at auction. He's always loved experimentation. Back in the 1960s, his brightly colored swimming pool paintings caused a sensation. Time and again, he changed genres, using photography and photocopying and even faxes.
He's an innovator, and he's always challenging himself. He doesn't like to do things over again. He's always pushing the buttons, not getting static into certain techniques. He puts challenges in for himself, and I think that's what keeps him young, keeps him playful.
The exhibition will change as well, because David Hockney plans to send in new artworks via email. What's on display today may be history tomorrow. Also on view is the creation of one of his iPad paintings from start to finish, thanks to the app's playback function.
I'm a driven artist, meaning you have to work. I don't do anything. If I'm not working, I'm told my friends tell me I'm terrible.
At 73, David Hockney is still brimming with energy. During the next months, he plans to remain in the UK and do a lot of painting, capturing spring and early summer in Yorkshire.
Sounds like a brilliant idea. Italy's design capital, Milan, is celebrating the 50th Salone del Mobile, possibly the world's most important design fair. All the top names in design are there, and the fair's impact extends into art, culture and fashion. Milan is pulling out all the stops for the milestone anniversary, and the show runs under the nicely tongue-in-cheek title, 50 Years Young.
More than 50,000 people a day are visiting the Milan Furniture Design Show. The motto of this year's fair is 50 Years Young. Some of the world's most famous designers are regular guests here, including Philippe Starck, Piero Lissoni, and Spain's Patrizia Urquiola, who's presenting her latest creations.
I grew up with Salone, then Salone and outside of Salone. No, I think this city is still being very alive.
If this machine were only to celebrate itself and say, "We're great," it would die. It has no choice but to run ever faster, like a rabbit.
It all began in 1961 with a trade fair featuring 328 furniture makers from in and around Milan. Today, there are 10 times as many exhibitors and 30 times as many visitors. The Salone del Mobile owes its growth to the international success of Italian design. French designer Philippe Starck says that's thanks to the willingness of Italian manufacturers to experiment. Starck is showing his latest seating design.
You have not to explain with the Italian editor. He receives the product, he understands, he loves it. It's like a Christmas gift for him.
A Jubilee exhibition dedicated to the manufacturers is taking place at the Triennale Design Museum. Curator is the design manufacturer Alberto Alessi. He's taken a very personal look back at the objects that made history. That includes classics like the sideboard Side 1 by Capellini, or the Objet d'Art by the Memphis Group in the 1980s. But the manufacturer's favorite pieces are not always successful.
An example of a flop is this kettle, one of my products, designed by Philippe Starck in the early 1990s.
The willingness to take risks keeps the Milan furniture makers on top.
If a designer enters, say, the Alessi factory, he'll meet my employees, who certainly have their own limitations. But the special thing is that he knows for sure that these people will do everything in order to make the designer's dream reality. So it's no coincidence that this high level of quality still exists in a radius of 100 kilometers around Milan.
Among the guests at the opening of the exhibition last week were Milan Mayor Letizia Moratti and veteran designer Alessandro Mendini. He was a trendsetter in the 1970s and 80s.
The secret of Italian design was nurtured in the creative garden that is Milan, which has quite a few years of experience. The people here cultivate a special topsoil, and in it they can grow these flowers. The authors, the industries, the objects, in an artistic climate.
That's why the entire city is celebrating the Salone's 50th anniversary. The fair is expecting some 350,000 visitors this year, more than attend the fashion shows. An exhibition of modern art on the Cathedral Square with the topic of high tech and design. All of Milan is a design supermarket, and visitors are thronging the furniture maker's showrooms into the evening hours. Even the fashion boutiques of the Via Monte Napoleone have put furniture and lighting design in their shop windows.
I think this is trend-setting for designers around the world.
This is what Made in Italy is all about. 50 years of the Salone are the history of Italian design.
Milan is celebrating the anniversary of the Salone del Mobile and its own status as the capital of design.
And now to a culinary topic for busy hobby chefs who want to cook good food for and with their families. An enterprising Hamburg company will round up the ingredients for you and deliver them to the door, complete with 5 recipes for every day of the working week. Lisa Rentrop got the idea from friends of hers in Sweden.
This week's menu features fish burritos, vegetable and cheese frittatas, and chicken chili. Dinner by Lisa Rentrop, the owner of Comte Essen. Every Monday, the ingredients for the week arrive at her warehouse in Hamburg. She founded the company a year ago. Comte Essen delivers groceries and recipes to customers once a week. Each bag contains 3 to 5 meals that serve 4 people.
We're climate conscious about choosing ingredients. We buy locally and create recipes according to the season.
And her customers have high expectations. Lisa Rentrop is in charge of deciding which ingredients make the cut.
Everything in the Comte Essen bag has to be really fresh with no additives. It has to be organic in some cases, for potatoes, carrots, peppers, citrus fruits and eggs. It can't be on the WWF's red list. It has to be top quality.
1 bag for 5 days of dinners costs €87. That works out to about €4 per person per meal. The meal delivery service is becoming a trendy solution for busy people.
The Comte Essen concept comes from Sweden, just like me. In 2007, friends of mine started it in Sweden, and it really took off. Now 1% of Swedes have pre-planned weekly menus delivered, which they prepare themselves. It's a real hit there. And it should be here, too.
Her customers get more time in the evenings, but Rentrop has less. She runs her budding business from an office in Hamburg and delivers to more than 300 households. 1 employee helps her cater to the customers and place orders. The recipes change constantly and can't be reused more frequently than every 6 weeks.
We started with the Swedish weekly plans and looked at what Swedish customers said. They can rate each recipe. We replaced things that weren't well received in Sweden with German specialties. We'll soon have asparagus and kale, which we don't have in Sweden. From meatballs in caper sauce to eggs with mustard sauce, there are lots of tasty things we can add. We also test how long it takes to cook something. That's important for our customers. It shouldn't take too long.
3 delivery trucks start making their rounds at 5 p.m. once customers get home from work. Comte Essen delivers around the city until 9 at night. Susanna Völki receives a delivery each week. As a lawyer, she works full days, so does her husband. But family mealtime is important.
The advantages are obvious. You save time. And secondly, I like the great quality. And having something different every week, so I'm not always cooking my standard dishes each week. I think that's really great for everybody.
Susanna Völki doesn't mind the set menus each week. She has time to come up with her own recipe ideas on weekends. But tonight it's time for the Comte Essen chicken chili. It takes just 20 minutes to cook. Homemade meals without the stress of grocery shopping.
Getting around town on a bike is becoming more popular here in Europe, and if you're really sporty, there's all that skin-tight Lycra gear to wear. But for the rest of us who don't have perfect bodies, this is a bit over the top. So for those whom cycling is just a way of getting about, here are some cool fashions to show off riding around town.
Bicycles are an ever more common sight in European cities. In Berlin alone, around 500,000 riders are out on an average day. Copenhagen is Europe's cycling capital. Nearly half its residents ride a bike regularly. In London, more and more people are getting on their bikes to beat the traffic. As a result, the bicycle is mutating into a new status symbol and designer object. And this has now caught the attention of the fashion industry. British designer Amy Fleuriot is a passionate cyclist. 2 years ago, she set up her own fashion label aimed specifically at bicycle riders. In her London studio, she's designed a whole range of clothing and accessories. She came up with the idea while she was still a student.
I'd started riding my bike to university and would turn up feeling very scruffy and unfashionable, and realised there was nothing on the market and that there were actually a lot of other women around that felt like me. So I decided to start the collection from there.
Her latest designs include outfits that are suitable for riding a bike and matching accessories like reflective armbands and saddlebags. This windproof jacket with an extra high collar is waterproof and has extra long arms. It sells for the equivalent of 180 euros. Or if you want something a little more elegant but still practical, how about a cape with reflective buttons? Amy Fleuriot's customers are generally sporty-minded women between the ages of 30 and 60 who like practical clothes but still want to look good. London's luxury department store Harrods has now started stocking her designs.
The way I try to combine fashion and functionality in my clothes is by sourcing performance fabrics but tailoring them to fit the female form in quite a considered way, which is something that hasn't really been done for cycling garments previously. There's sort of a lot of lycra and a lot of tight things around, and I just want to flatter, but with using those technical fabrics.
In Germany, the bicycle has also long ceased to be just a sports item. Former professional cyclist Pingo Magduszewski now advises manufacturers of sports gear on marketing issues. He believes urban cycling and the accompanying sportswear is the market of the future.
It was the bicycle couriers who experimented with fashion almost all over the world, New York, London, but also Tokyo. Then there was the vintage wave. Now neo-retro is fashionable. The classic Dutch bikes were dug up again and considered chic. So people who were creative and had business sense recognized that. And they linked all these elements together. And there you have this effect.
Danish firm Jakke began designing fashionable cycle helmets in 2008 and have since won numerous design awards. Or how about these handmade leather cycle shoes from London designer Quoc Femme? They'll set you back around 170 euros a pair. Clothing tailored to cyclists is now an increasingly common sight on international fashion runways. These examples are from British designer Paul Smith, who's a passionate cycler himself. In 2008, Chanel brought out a luxury bicycle with matching saddlebag. German fashion guru Karl Lagerfeld has also designed cyclist-inspired gear.
A lot of the big designers now are looking to cycling and using that in their catwalk shows, whether it's models walking down with bikes, or Levi's is just about to bring out a collection of urban cycling apparel. So I think it's something that we're going to continue seeing crossing over in between kind of streetwear and high-end fashion.
Designers like Amy Fleuriot show that cyclists of the future can be both sporty and in style.
Finally, to Swiss photographer Corinne Vionnet, who is currently working on a different kind of collage of photos of classic landmarks. Actually, they're not her own photos, but tourist snaps, which she superimposes on her computer, and the results are impressionistic-looking shots of familiar landmarks.
For over 120 years, the Eiffel Tower has drawn visitors to Paris from all over the world. On any given day, there might be 35,000 visitors who take at least as many photos. Swiss photographer Corinne Vionnet has gathered hundreds of snapshots of the Eiffel Tower and laid them on top of one another.
So what I've been wondering once back is that, are we all doing the same kind of pictures when we're traveling and when we are tourists, and do we have a visual culture that makes us repeat the same kind of pictures?
She got the idea for the series she called Photo Opportunities while visiting the Italian city of Pisa with her husband. They both ended up with almost identical photos of the city's famous Leaning Tower. Landmarks the world over trigger the same phenomenon. Big Ben in London is one example. Along with the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin. And Moscow's Red Square.
I guess it's still important for us till today to, even if we already know so much about the Eiffel Tower, to do this picture, to assimilate the moment we are there and to discover by ourselves these famous monuments.
Corinne Vionnet finds most of the material for her work on the internet. She downloads up to 1,000 pictures for a single work. Pictures taken by day, by night, in summer, in winter. Then she blends the photos together. The low-level saturation almost creates the effect of a painting.
I tried to do a work where it was more like a painting, or using their images like a palette and not really using their pictures as is. So for me it's like a collective work more than my work.
Vionnet lives near Geneva, Switzerland. She got into photography in a roundabout way. For years, she was a professional ice dancer and earned her money in marketing. Then in 2005, she decided to pursue her passion.
So I was collecting postcards when I was a kid, and the presence of image has always had it's always had something important for me. So I guess it's just the consequence of all this that came up one day, like, oh, actually, it's photography I want really to do as a job.
Corinne Vionnet then taught herself the art of photography. Perhaps that's why her work is based not so much on pure aesthetics as on a particular idea. Another of her photo series is entitled Museum on Hold, in which she focused on various museums as they were in the process of changing their exhibitions.
What I meant through this work mainly is when it's no longer any works there, what means a museum. Meaning now that the envelope of museum, like for Guggenheim in Bilbao, is so important as the museum, almost a monument right now. So it's this parallel between the importance of museum and becoming a monument maybe itself.
Her work can now be found all over the world in numerous private and public collections. Vionnet is something of a modern-day philosopher who likes to explore certain themes through her work. Her next project is no exception.
You know, in USA you have like, for example, places called Mexico or Switzerland or Berlin, and I would love to go there and discover these places and how because for us, Switzerland is a country in Europe, but it is also a little village in USA, so I would like to work around that.
Corinne Vionnet and her unusual way of looking at familiar motifs. Her first photo book is due out later this year.
That's it for now. Check out our website at dw-world.de/English/Euromaxx highlights for more info and more reports from the show. Until next time, though, bye-bye.